YouTube as well as the Hangout. A second here. Yeah. This, okay. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. We have been studying the beautiful book of Deuteronomy, the powerful book of the law. These be the words. And we looked so far at the first 6 chapters. Last night we started the 7th chapter of Deuteronomy in the beginning, and we talked about, well, the chapter talked about mixed marriages, and how man has perverted the idea of what a mixed marriage is. Just as by way of review, what does mixed marriage have to do with? According to what we studied last night, some of you were here. What does mixed marriage have to do with? Does it have to do with your skin color? A mixed marriage. Does it have to do with your skin color? Is that a mixed marriage? No, it has nothing to do with skin color. That's right. It has everything to do with what God you worshiped. According to what we were reading last night, the Most High was telling his people, I don't want you marrying with people that worship other gods. That's what he was dealing with. It wasn't according to their skin color. It wasn't according to what nation they were from, really. It was really, did they worship other gods? And let's look at that as we start today's lesson. Let's just review those last few verses that we read last night in Deuteronomy chapter 7. And let's start at verse 2 down to verse 4. And let's look and see what he was talking about with regard to mixed marriages. And when Yahweh thy Elohim shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So the object is not about keeping a pure color of your skin. It is not about a pure bloodline as much as it is about the worship of Yah, about the worship of the true God, about faithful worship to him. And let me ask you another question. Those of you that were here last night, I just want to make sure you quiz. It's verse 2. Verse 2 sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? And when Yahweh thy Elohim shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, no sure mercy unto them. Why was he so harsh? Remember, we studied last night. Why was he so harsh? Why was it that he wanted them utterly destroyed from off that land? Remember last night we studied this? Same question. The filthy sins. That's right. They were now, Sister Josie, that's a good answer. Now let me ask you, according to what we studied last night, how long these filthy sins? How long had they been doing it? How long had the Most High allowed them to continue? A very long time. As a matter of fact, 400 years, wasn't it? It was 400 years, more than 400 years, he allowed them to continue. And at the end of 400 years, he had enough. He had enough. That was the end of it. Isn't that true? That was the end. He had enough, and he sent the Israelites in to not only displace them, but to destroy the whole thing. Now, I want to look at that. And let me ask you one other question. Very good. And Sister Kimmy, I'm going to ask you, because y'all were here last night, and Sister 12 Gates, one other question. Where in the Bible can you find that outlines the actions these people were doing for 4 centuries? Where in the Bible can you find the outline or show you what they were doing? That's right, Leviticus chapter 18. Please remember that. That's very important, because there's a lot of people. Remember, brothers and sisters, I want to make sure I remind you that the character of the Most High is under attack. His character is under attack in many ways. His word is under attack, his covenant is under attack, but all of these attacks are attacks on his character. What I mean by that is people are looking for reasons to say the God that you serve is mean and arbitrary arbitrary, and he can't exist. If that's such a God is, I don't want to serve him because he's mean and arbitrary. And so you have to be able to show them the reasons behind his reactions to things, right? He doesn't just react for no reason, isn't that right? He doesn't just lash out. He's not out of control. The Most High is the most in control of all, right? If he was out of control, then nobody's heart would beat properly. The sun wouldn't rise and set when it does. The earth, the planets wouldn't move the way they did. He's got everything under control, but we got to show from the scriptures why he reacted things, why he did that. And we saw Leviticus 18, and it outlined for us what the men of that land had been doing for 4 centuries. And let's show you why I say, because in Leviticus 18, it doesn't say 4 centuries, but it does say it in Genesis chapter 15. Okay, so let's look at Genesis 15, because somebody say, how do you know it was 400 years that he put up with all of that? How do you know it wasn't just a couple of months? Well, let's look at Genesis chapter 15. Let's look at Genesis chapter 15. And let's see. Okay. Genesis chapter 15 from verse 12. From verse 12 down to verse 14. Okay. Let's look at what it says. Genesis, actually from verse 12 to 16, please. From verse 12 to verse 16. Genesis chapter 15. This just shows the whole time frame. Okay, in his discussion here with our father Abraham. Notice what it said. And it starts at verse 12. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, or Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. And thou shalt go into thy fathers, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. See what I'm saying? See what he said? In the iniquity of the Amorites, that is the people of the land of Canaan, were doing these abominations. And he said, I'm going to give them, they have been doing them even until that time. But he said, I'm going to give them 400 more years. I'm going to give them 4 more centuries. And they're not, and when their iniquity is running over, when they have filled their cup, I'm going to. And that's why we see the harshness, or apparent harshness, of Deuteronomy chapter 7, when he said, make no covenant with them, have no mercy upon them, smite them. Now, this is the thing, brothers and sisters. In our day, when the plagues begin to fall, as Revelation 16 outlines, when the plagues begin to fall on planet Earth, as they fell in ancient Egypt, you can see there'll be no mercy. Why? Because as we can see, what we read in Leviticus 18, let me ask a couple of questions. In the earth today, are there men that are sexually abusing daughters? Are there fathers sexually abusing daughters right now in this? Yes. Are there men having intercourse with other men right now? Yes, right now, as I'm speaking to you. Are women having sexual intercourse with other women right now as I'm speaking to you? Is that? Yes, it's happening right now. As I'm speaking to you, is someone somewhere committing a sexual act with an animal? Having sex with animals? Yes, even right now. All right. And we can continue. We can keep going. Is somebody having sex with somebody else's wife? right now? Is some woman having sex with some other man aside from her husband right now? Yes, it's all happening. Ask you this. How long do you suppose these things have been going on in our civilized society in which we live? How long has these things been going on in our civilized society in which we live? How long has these things been happening? Do you think it's been, if I said 100 years, if I said 200 years, if I said 400 years, if I said 1,000 years, is that correct? Would I be right? If I said at least 1,000 years, right? Has it been going on that long? Yes. So if the Amorites' iniquity was full after 400 years, what do you suppose is going to happen when the Most High starts sending the plagues upon the earth? Do you think there's going to be any mercy in those plagues when he sends them? Do you think he's going to change his mind and decide, I'm going to raise up a little bit. This is a little too harsh. No. No. As a matter of fact, for the sake of context, let's look at Revelation chapter 16. Let's look at Revelation chapter 16, just a little portion of it, what that time is going to be like. Revelation chapter 16, from verse 4 down to verse 9, just as a little sample. We're not reading the whole thing, just as a sample, so you can see what it's going to be like at that time. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of waters, and they became blood. Angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, Yahweh, which art and wast and shalt be, because thou hast judged thus. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Yahweh Al Shaddai, true and righteous are thy judgments. The angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. And men were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of Yahweh, which had power over these plagues. And they repented not to give him glory. Just gives you a little sample. So there's no repentance. There's great conflagrations coming on the planet Earth. There's no repentance, and there's no mercy. And the angels of the Most High are with it. They say they are worthy. They deserve that. See, right now, as I'm speaking to you with all of these things going on planet Earth, right now, you know how we know it's the time of mercy? Because the judgments haven't been given to the planet yet. The judgments haven't been poured out yet. So it's a time of mercy. Just like in the days of the Israelites, 4 centuries had went by, and the Most High was showing mercy to the people in the land of Canaan. But they refused. Not only refused to turn, but refused to repent at all. Even as the Israelites were marching through the wilderness, 600,000 men, not including women and children, even as they were on their way, there was no repentance. They continued to sacrifice children in the fire. They continued to commit sodomy. They continued to have lesbianism and bestiality and sex with anyone that was moving. They continued to do that all the way until their destruction. It's the same today, brothers and sisters. There's going to be no change. It's only going to get more and more and more corrupt. There's going to be no change. The only change is going to be in the individuals that are surrendering themselves to the Most High. And that's going to be his holy people, as we're going to read about right now in Deuteronomy chapter 7. So let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 7 and continue in Deuteronomy 7. I just want to point out a couple of things that we've already studied. When we looked at Deuteronomy chapter 5 and we saw Moses rehearsing the covenant that the Most High had given, rehearsing the covenant that was given from Mount Sinai. And the Most High in the covenant says, the first thing he says is, I am Yahweh thy Elohim, thou shalt, I am I am Yahweh thy Elohim that brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's the first thing he said. And what he's saying is, I did this for you. I've freed you from slavery. Right? And that's not even including, he provided food for them in the desert. He delivered them from Egyptian armies, right? He did all that for them. He provided water out of rocks for them. He gave them and made them a great nation. Did all that for them. And they saw it. They saw the cloud that covered them in the day from the scorching sun, and the fire, the pillar of fire, because it gets hot in the desert during the day, and it gets very cold at night. So there was a pillar of fire at night to keep them warm. He provided for them. Okay? And he led them through the wilderness. And he promised a land that he was going to give them, which we're looking at now. So they had evidence from the plagues they saw in Egypt, especially the death of the firstborn, but all the plagues they saw in Egypt, there were 10 plagues that hit Egypt. The last 7 only hit the Egyptians. They had seen all of that. They saw this parting of the Red Sea. They saw it part, and they walked across on dry ground. They were there. They experienced that. They saw the manna provide for them every day. They saw the water come out of rocks. They heard the voice of the Most High, thunder. They heard it, and it was so powerful. They asked Moses, tell him to stop talking because he's going to kill us with his voice. You go get from him what he wants us to do, and we'll do it. But just tell him to stop because his voice is going to kill us. And Moses said, they're right. You do it. You come. So now Moses was the intercessor. So they saw all of that. They had all of that evidence. And so now, as a result of all of that, he is illustrating, he is showing them one thing. There's no other God but me. You understand? There's no other God but me. There's no other God. There's no Chemosh. There's no Allah. No other God but me. I want you to understand that, Israelites, you children of my servant Abraham, I need you to understand. There's no other God but me. I'm the only one. And as the only one, I don't want you worshiping anything else. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? See, they could have questioned it if it was just a philosophy. If it was a philosophy, like if they didn't see all the things that they saw, right? If they didn't have evidence in front of them of everything, like from the plagues and from the feeding and from the fire and from the walking on dry ground through the midst of a sea and all that, if they didn't have all that, they might question, should they worship this God or not? But they had all that evidence. That's why Moses repeatedly said, your eyes have seen, you saw, you were witnesses, you saw, and they did. So based on that, he was saying to them, there's no other God but me. I'm the only one that could do all these things. Pharaoh's gods couldn't do it, right? Worshiping no other gods but me, because I did all this. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? He was so adamant about them not serving other gods because they saw and experienced what he had done for them. And Moses introduced him when he said, Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. He said to them, I am Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. And not only that, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm the one that led your fathers, and I'm the one that caused you to come down into the land of Goshen. It's me, Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. And your fathers did not know me by my name, Yahweh. They knew me by Al Shaddai, God Almighty. But they didn't know me by Yahweh. You're going to know me by my name, and I'm going to know you. And I am that I am. I exist that I exist. Yah exists. You're going to know me. And I'm going to know you. And you're going to be my special people above all people. Let's get into that. Deuteronomy chapter 7, from verse 6 from verse 6 down to verse 8. Deuteronomy chapter 7, from verse 6 down to verse 8. Notice what it says. Art an holy people unto Yahweh thy Elohim. Yahweh thy Elohim hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Now, see, everything we just said is in them 3 verses. Now, I want to show you something here, because question, what does the word holy mean? When he says you are a holy people, what is the definition? Give me a little, what is the definition of holy? That's right, it is set apart. I have made you a set apart. That means I have set you apart as different from every other people. Another word for that, which we read every Shabbat, is the word sanctify, right? Right? Is that correct? Sanctify is the same thing. I have set you apart. I have sanctified you. I have made you my holy people, my sanctified people. You are set apart. That's why he said, you shall keep the Shabbat, because the Shabbat shows that I am Yahweh that sets you apart. Set you apart from what? Well, he said, I have chosen thee to be a special people to himself, above all people on the face of the earth. So you are set apart. You are different from everybody else on the planet. I've set you apart. Set you apart. Why? Why did he set apart this people? He says, not because you are great people. He didn't. He said, not because of that. He said, because you're the fewest of all people. I mean, the Bible says there were 600,000 men that come out of Egypt. Now, we know from the Bible, and also even today, women outnumber men. There's always more women than men on the earth. That's always the case. Women outnumber men. It's from the beginning. There were daughters born to Adam, and all of a sudden he had a son. And then they went crazy. Oh, he gave us a son because he had daughters. Many daughters were around. That's why when Cain left, and he got married women, because there was women were out there already. They were having women, they were having daughters, but the promise was through a male. See, the promise of deliverance was through a man. So they were looking for a man. And that's why Eve said, oh, I have gotten a man from your house. Gotten a man. So he was looking for a male. Okay, because the male was supposed to be Messiah, was supposed to be the deliverer. They had daughters. So 600,000 men and at least that many women, right? At least. So now you're talking about 1.2 million people, not including children. So you're over 1 million people. But you see, brothers and sisters, nations, when you have nations of people, if you have a nation and there's only 1 million people, let me ask you, is that a small nation, a medium-sized nation, or a large nation? If you have a nation of 1 million people, is that a small nation, a medium-sized nation, or a large nation? No, that's a small nation. How many people are in the United States of America? This is a nation. United States is a nation. How many people are in the United States of America? There are over 300 million people in the United States of America. 300 million. Right. So I'm sorry, Sister Joseph, let me ask the question again. So I said, if you have a nation that's made up of 1 million people, is that nation considered a large nation, a small nation, or a medium-sized nation? That's what I asked. I said, if you have a nation that's made up of 1 million people, is it a small nation, is it a large nation, or is it a medium-sized nation? So it would be a small nation, because the United States, and I give the United States as an example, we have 300 million people in the United States. Okay. Largest nation, and we're not the United States of America is not the largest nation on the planet. There are probably 20 or 30 million people in Canada. Okay, but of course we know in India there are over 1 billion people, maybe close to 2 billion, and in China there are over 1 billion people, going on 2 billion, right? Large countries. That makes sense, brothers? That's a large country. That, you know, hundreds of millions to billions is a large country. But when you have a country, a nation that's only 1 million people, that's a very small nation. That's a small nation. So when he's telling them you are the fewest of all people, you're a small nation, Israel. I've gathered you out from Egypt and you're a small nation. So it wasn't because you were a large nation that I blessed you like that. No, it was because I'm going to keep my promise to your fathers. I'm going to keep my promise to your fathers. And because I'm keeping my promise to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I redeemed you from slavery. I brought you out of the house of bondage. See, Egypt represents a couple of things in the Bible. 2 things, at least, Egypt represents. Egypt is really, when you look up the word in Hebrew, is really Mizraim. Mizraim was one of the original children of Ham, who was one of Noah's 3 sons. Noah had 3 sons that got off on the ark with their wives, and they came off the ark after the flood. One of those sons was named Ham. Ham had some sons. He had one named Cush. He had one named Mizraim. He had more than that, but Cush became Ethiopia, and Mizraim became Egypt. Okay, so when you look up the original, it will say Mizraim because Mizraim was the name of the son that became, had Put, which became North Africa, and he had Canaan, which became the land named after the land that the children of Israel took over, which we're reading about now, the land of Canaan, right? So it was Canaan. You had Put, which is North Africa, represent most of Africa at that time, and then you had Egypt, which is Mizraim. Other thing that the Bible shows us it represents is what? House of bondage. House of bondage. In other words, a nation that has cruel bondage of slavery. Wait, did you hear what I said? A nation that has cruel bondage of slavery. Not just slaves. Slaves been around a long time. Generally, slavery in the Bible times, and in even in last 100 years, slavery is an institution that is generally reserved for people that are in debt. It had been institution that was reserved. People in debt went into slavery to pay off their debt. They became slaves. They became servants of the person that they owed. Okay? But chattel slavery is what the Egyptians were practicing and what other nations that put people in bondage. What does that mean? That means we control you, we own you, you will never be set free, and you will work for us, and your children will work for us. In fact, we're going to breed you so that you can have more children and you can work for us too. That's chattel slavery. Okay? That's chattel slavery. And we know other nations, which we shall not name right now, but we know other nations that have had chattel slavery, right? Houses of bondage. And in the Bible, they name them by calling them Egypt. Egypt. So when you see the name Egypt in prophetic sense, it's chattel slavery, bondage, house of bondage. See, that's the other thing that it means. We're going to see that in Deuteronomy. Because matter of fact, the children of Israel were in bondage. They were slaves in Egypt, and they were slaves several times. As you're gonna read, they've been slaves many times. Because every time he said, you're gonna keep this covenant, or I'm gonna put you in what? Bondage. Right? Bondage. They've been in chattel slaves. That's how you can know who they are today and who they're not. Any peoples who have not experienced chattel slavery ain't them. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Any people who have not experienced chattel slavery ain't them. If you're under slavery in indentured servant because you owed money or something, that's one thing. Many people, in fact, there's not been a people on the earth. I think every culture on planet Earth have experienced that, because that's in all nations, that type of slavery. But that chattel slavery, that one where they say we own you and you never getting away, and your family's gonna own them too, and we're gonna keep owning for as long as you exist, only a few people. Only a couple of cultures, really, only one has experienced that. And that's how you can know who the Israelites are today, because ain't everybody experienced that, all right? So he told them, I chose you to be set apart. You're set apart from everybody else. Now listen, I want you to understand, let me just explain something to you. We studied the book of Ephesians, and when we looked at Ephesians, there was a relationship between husband and wife that was explained to be the relationship between Messiah Messiah and his people, who is called the church. Remember that? The relationship was explained in a way that it was explained so that it was a relationship between a husband and a wife. So when a husband is marrying a wife and a wife is marrying a husband, right? There's certain expectations, right? I mean, when you're not marrying a person with the expectation that they're going to mistreat you. I mean, not if you're doing of your own volition, your own free will. You're not marrying a person with the expectation that they're just going to mistreat you, right? When you marry somebody, there's certain expectation. So when this man is marrying this woman, he's expecting that he's going to be the only man that she's going to have. She's not going to have any other man. That's going to be his woman alone, right? I mean, that's the expectation, right? Now, she's expecting that that's going to be her man. He's going to take care of her. He's going to provide for her. That's her man, right? Now, when the man come home and his woman is in bed with another man, how do you think he gonna feel about that? I mean, he come home, he worked hard, and maybe he went and he stopped on his way home and wants to surprise his wife with a bouquet of flowers. And he stopped and he gets some flowers. Maybe she likes chocolate, and he stopped and he got her some chocolates, you know, some expensive chocolate, some exotic chocolate. And he went and he said, you know, I'm gonna surprise my wife today. I love her so much. And he walks in and he's hearing grunts and he's hearing moans and he's hearing movement in his house. And he's wondering what's going on. And he walks and as he gets closer to his bedroom, he's hearing it louder and louder. And he opens the door, and what does he see? Another man all up in his woman, and she enjoying it. Now, what do you suppose he's going to feel about that? How do you think he would react to that? How do you think he would react in such a situation? You think he would, I mean, what do you expect? Yeah, he's going to be hurt and angry, right? I mean, do you think he might do something? You think he might do something, right? He might react violently, right? I mean, there have been situations like that where the other dude has been killed. There have been situations like that where both the people have been killed. You know, brother walk in and catch like that, and all of a sudden he break out with his 9mm and bullet starts to flying. Or he go grab a baseball bat and stuff start getting broken up. Somebody get hurt, right? And after all of that, when he thinks of that woman, do you think his thoughts are going to be nice? When he thinks of his wife, who he went and got the flowers for, and he went and got the candy for, and he was coming home just so happy to see her because he got home, he's not going to think nice thoughts about her. Well, just so. The Most High married the children of Jacob. He embraced them like that was his woman. And he said, I don't want you to be with any other woman. I don't want you having no other man now. You mine, and I'm yours. And you are set apart for me. And when he made this covenant with them, he made it with blood. He made it with the blood, right? Remember, he made the covenant with blood. So they were serious. Now, this is a God that doesn't forget, right? I mean, he don't forget. He don't change, right? So if he come home and he expecting that they're going to be faithful and they're worshiping other gods, committing adultery, he's not going to be too happy about that. He might act a certain way about that. Is that true? He might act a certain way about that. Now, if it's not his woman, if it's the next door neighbor and they doing what they do, that's their business, right? That's their business. If it's the next door neighbor and her husband leaves and she has 3 other dudes coming in, that's their business. That ain't his business. But his business with his woman and the relationship, the covenant he had with his woman. So he said, I'm setting you apart. You are set apart for me. I have chosen you. I delivered you from slavery. They were mistreating you. They were throwing your males into the Nile River to be eaten by alligators. I delivered you. I put judgments on that nation that did that to you. And I delivered you out of there with manna 40 years. And I gave you water when you were thirsty out of rocks, pure water out of rocks. And I kept you warm at night, and I covered you from the heat in the day. One time you even desired, you wanted some meat. You said, I want some flesh to eat. And I gave you some chicken. I gave you some birds out the sky. I rained it down on you. So I don't want you to lay with any other man. I'm your man. I want you to be faithful to me. I want you to keep this covenant between us. Right? That makes sense, brothers and sisters? So now you can kind of understand how he might, react. Because we saw how he acted. Instructions that he gave them for 400 years of apostasy from the Amorites. But he put up with the nation of Israel apostatizing from him for over 1,000 years. Over 1,000 years he put up with it. Understand why he might say, you know what? You're gonna treat me like this, I'm putting you back in slavery. I'm gonna put you back in slavery, and it's gonna be worse than the Egyptian slavery you were in. I'm gonna make it worse for you. Me, after all I did for you, because his heart was broken. That's what you call a broken heart. Because really, when a man comes home and that's the situation, what you're really dealing with is a broken heart. Isn't that true? I mean, it sounds simplistic. I mean, he might shoot people, he might beat people, but really, he's hurt. Isn't that right? He's really hurt. His heart is broken. His hopes is crushed. Right? He's hurt. And you're dealing with a broken heart. That's what happened to Yahweh with his people. And you know what? If he really loved her, right? He really loved her. He might break up with her. He might tell her to get out of his house. He might do all that. But if she repents, right? If she's sorry for what she did, if she keep herself clean after that, she don't see no other man. She's sorry for what she did. You know what? He wants her back because he loves her, right? He wants her back still. He wants her back because he loves her. You understand? You see what I'm saying? He loves her. He wants her back. You see? And so that's what we're dealing with the Most High and his chosen people. He said, I've set you apart because I've not shown what I've shown to you. I have not shown to any other people on the planet Earth. I have not shown my heart to them as I've shown it to you. I have not provided for anybody else the way I provided for you. Yeah, I keep the planet in orbit. Yeah, I cause the sun to rise and set every day on everybody. I give everybody rain. Yeah. But you people, no, I took you out of another nation. You were in slavery and I took you out. And I provided for you. I provided clothes. I provided food for you. I protected you from everything that was coming against you. I fought for you. I even sent my son to pay for your sin. I did it for you. See, so he went all out for this people. And why? This is illustrating his love for Abraham. Because of my promise to your father Abraham, I did all that for you because I loved Abraham. Abraham was my friend, man. And I told him I'm going to take care of his children. So I'm taking care of you. You mine now. You with me. See? So he said, I've set you apart. I've chosen you. You're special. You're above all the people of the earth. Special. See? Set you apart. Because I loved you and I'm going to keep my promise that I made to your fathers. I've redeemed you from slavery. Stronger than you. I redeemed you. Okay? Now, the Most High in setting us apart, what does he want from us? What does he desire from us? What does he want, right? What does he desire? What is it? Well, he wants us to be faithful, right? He wants us to be faithful to him. Isn't that right? He desires that we should be faithful to him. Okay? He desires that we should be faithful. Let's look at Micah chapter 6. Micah chapter 6 and verse 8. Micah chapter 6 and verse 8. Notice what he said. Micah 6:8. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth Yahweh require of thee? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy Elohim. That's what he wants. He just wants us to keep covenant with him. All I'm asking for, just be faithful to me. Just keep covenant with me. And we're going to be good. Do what's right. Be just as I'm just toward you. I want you to be just. As I show mercy toward you, I need you to show mercy. And I need you to be humble. Don't be proud like Asatan. Don't be proud and loud like Asatan, my enemy. Don't be like him. Walk humbly with me. Huh? Walk humbly with me. That's all I'm asking. That's all he's asking. And I'm going to bless you because I've set you apart to be holy, to be mine. I've set you apart. So let's continue. Back to Deuteronomy chapter 7. I'm going to start at verse 6 again, but this time I'm going to go from verse 6 and I'm going to go down to verse 11 because it's worth repeating. So let's go from verse 6 down to verse 11. Deuteronomy chapter 7 from verse 6 down to verse 11. For thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy Elohim. Yahweh thy Elohim hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. That Yahweh thy Elohim, he is Elohim, the faithful Elohim, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him, but he will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and statutes and the judgments this day to do them. See? So what he's asking us, obedience to this covenant. And what sets us apart from all the peoples of the earth is obedience. You see, this is the thing, brothers and sisters. You and I have never seen a sea part on dry ground. We've never done that. Isn't that correct? I'm not lying, right? We've never seen a sea part and we walk across it on dry ground. We have never seen a mountain with pillars of smoke and fire and earthquaking at the same time, and a voice coming from it and speaking to us the covenant. We've never seen that. We've never seen down out the sky and feed us. We've never seen water come out of a rock when we're thirsty somewhere, right? When we're thirsty somewhere, we got to find a water fountain, or we got to get bottled water or something, right? But we ain't never seen water come out of a rock. So why should we be faithful to this God? Why should we? We've never seen any of those things. Why should we be faithful? Because, brothers and sisters, we still can see the covenant. The covenant is still here. And if you understand what the covenant means, in other words, if you have the understanding that this covenant is his character, that this covenant is a representation of his divine character, then and you can look at that and you can say, oh, that's his character. It's a character of holiness, of setting apart, of justice, of righteousness, of love. We can see that. And we can read where he says, I need you to keep this to be my people. I need you to keep this covenant to be mine. We could do that. We could do that, right? We could do that. We could look at the covenant and say, oh yeah, we could do that. we could, that's understandable. We could keep that covenant. Now, individual, like each of us individually, I'm sure, can tell stories of how an unseen hand guided our life. Is that right? Each of us can tell stories of how an unseen hand guided our life, one way or the other. And we can tell stories of how we have been impressed by a spirit on us, right? We have been impressed by a spirit, an unseen spirit have impressed our minds with the Creator. And now, between that and the covenant that we can see right here, we know these words, this Bible that we have, we are convicted that this is His word by His Spirit. And He's telling us today, I need you to keep my covenant. I need you to keep my covenant. Those people that keep covenant with Him, chosen people. The ones that keep covenant with Him are His chosen people. Now we talked about this last night, how there's no denomination, no Christian denomination, no Islamic sect, no Judaism on the planet Earth that follows the Bible only. There's nobody that does it. Nobody. All of those people follow parts of the Bible, but none of them take the whole book and say, I'm gonna cleave to this book. I'm gonna do what it said. I'm gonna live by the words of this book. I'm gonna live by the words of this book, and I'm gonna live by the God this book is talking about. Nobody does that, right? Nobody does that. Not one denomination does that. One. You know, they always follow part of it, the part that appeases their denomination, because religion is hypocrisy incorporated. Okay, religion is hypocrisy incorporated. That's really what it is. It's about making money in the name of religion. Period. Period. End of story. It's about how many fannies can we get in our religion so that we can say we the biggest and the baddest. And the people that's in charge of our religion can get paid. That's really what it comes down to. Right? So money is the real God. Money is the real God. Control is the real God. Money and control of people's minds is the real, the real game is at in religion. But the Most High wants us. The Most High wants us, Him only. Just like He said, a holy people. I want you to keep my covenant. I want you to keep my commandments that I command you. I want you to serve me only, no other gods. I want you to not have any other gods. I want you to keep my word. I want you to keep my word. I want you to walk humbly with me and keep my word. That's what I want you to do. And nobody's doing that. Okay? And anyone that would endeavor to do it are looked upon as crazy, as fanatical, as out of touch. Anybody that would seek to do it. That's how it is. And so, brothers and sisters, in the day and age in which we live, it's not hard to be set apart. All you have to do is covenant to keep the words of the book. If you decide to be obedient to the Most High, if you decide to follow His words, not man's words, His words, you're going to be set apart because nobody else is doing that. Okay, nobody else is doing it. No religion's doing it. Nobody's doing it. Okay, you get what they call a New Testament Christians, where that they telling you they just follow New Testament, not the Old Testament. They're not doing it. Seventh day keeping, Sabbath keeping Christians that will tell you they keeping it. They're not keeping it because they got their own institutions. That's not Israel. They got their own institution. That's not Israel. Okay. And they got their own prophets. That's not biblical prophets. They got their own books even. That's not biblical books. And they're after the money. Then you have Judaism, who says Messiah hasn't even come yet. We don't believe Messiah has come yet. Anyway, pay the penalty of our sin. Just pass that next dollar here. And then you got Islam, and they're into the Quran, and they don't even believe the Bible, except where they say, well, there was an Abraham, but he came down to Saudi Arabia and set up shop at Mecca. He ain't come to no Jerusalem. And no, we don't believe any Messiah paid the penalty for any sin. No, that's Islam. Okay, Muhammad, and that's it. No Messiah paid penalty for anybody's sin. We got to pray 5 times a day. We got to say rosaries, and we got to wash our feet and hands 5 times a day. And that's how we obtain salvation. That's Muslim. So they don't follow. None of them follow this book. Nobody is following this book. If you decide to follow this book alone, I'm telling you, you're going to be set apart. You're going to be different from all the people on the planet. Just that. That's all it takes. Okay? That's all it takes. But it sounds as simple as it sounds. It's difficult because people are going to make it difficult for you. Because, again, you're going to be looked upon as strange. You're not going to have a whole bunch of people worshiping with you. You're going to be worshiping by yourself most of the time. You're not going to have a whole bunch of people agreeing with you. People are going to think you're crazy because you're following the book. Okay? Because you're following the book. All right? Simple as that. But the Most High requires that his people follow his words and keep his covenant, which is why in these last days, the people that are his people are described as a remnant, right? They're described as a remnant. They're not described as a large group of people. They're described as a remnant following his book. And in fact, let's take a look at it. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. And let's look at Revelation 12. And let's look at verse 17 of Revelation chapter 12. Revelation 12:17. Notice what it says. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of YHWH, Messiah. So the dragon was wroth with the woman representing Israel, his church, his chosen. Of that woman that was left, the remnant of her children, there's just a little part that was left, and he made war with them because they kept his commandments and they have the witness of the Messiah. They kept his commandments and they have the witness of the Messiah, and the witness of the Messiah, the testimony, the witness is, and that's why he's enraged with them, because they represent his enemy. Because to the dragon, the enemy is the Most High. To the Most High, the enemy is the dragon. And thus it's going to be until the dragon is destroyed. Let us continue. We're going to finish today with this next section of Deuteronomy chapter 7. So Deuteronomy chapter 7. Deuteronomy chapter 7. Going to read from verse down to verse 15, and we'll finish at verse 15 today. Deuteronomy chapter 7 from verse 11 to verse 15. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments and keep and do them, thy Elohim shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. And he will also bless the fruit of thy womb and the fruit of thy land and thy wine and thine oil, the increase of thy kine and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be a male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And Yahweh will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee, but will lay them upon them that hate thee. See, these are the promises to his people if they were faithful to his covenant. Now, you can see all the promises, right? What do you suppose would happen to them if they worshiped other gods? If they kept worshiping other gods, if they turned from the Creator who had delivered them, just turn it opposite. Everything that you just read, if they rebelled against him, he would bring them back into slavery. If they rebelled against him, he would not bless anything they had, anything they were. They would be the cursed above all people. They would be barren. They would be sick. They would have diseases on them. They put diseases on them. They'd be sick. And we're going to see that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. Okay? And we know why. But the story doesn't end there, praise the Most High, because we know the end of the story is he regathers them together. They repent of their sin. They come back to him. They obey his covenant, and he reconstitutes them. He brings them back together. And the people that spanked them, the people that exploited them, the people that hurt them are going to catch all kinds of hell. So we know the end of the story, but now we're seeing the beginning right here, chapter 7. So let's take a break. Let's stop here, and we'll come back to Deuteronomy 7 next week, and we'll take a break here.